afternoon. I am Dr. Mandakini. Today I am going to talk about hemodynamic disorders. What is the role of hemodynamics in our body? It maintains the normal blood circulation, maintains the fluid balance in our body. It brings nutrients and oxygen to the cells and tissues, and it removes the wastes from the body. So, depending upon the species, sex and age of the animal, 65% body weight is water, and it is divided into intra and extracellular fluid, and it is distributed in the interstitial department, intracellular and intravascular. So, common hemodynamic disorder are produced because of imbalance in this distribution of fluid is hyperemia, congestion, hemorrhage, edema, thrombosis, embolism, ischemia and infarction, and shock. Today, I am going to talk about the hyperemia and congestion. Hyperemia means increased blood flow to the tissue because of dilatation of the vessels. It is an acute condition. And congestion is a passive procedure, and it is chronic, and it is due to defective or incomplete venous drainage. So, this is how you can see there is increased blood supply to the artery. So, there is blood, vessels are dilated, and there is blood inside the vessels. Same way here, the blood is not going out from the vessels, and that is why blood is there, inoxygenated blood is collected. So, that is secondary to local obstruction, and that produces the congestion or hyperemia. So, hyperemia is divided into general and local. General hyperemia is there is increased amount of blood in the arterial system throughout the body, and there are various cases for production of this general hyperemia. The most common is the pasturalis and certain infections and kidney diseases. Local hyperemia means increased blood supply to the tissue or organ, and it is localized to a specific organ. It can be secondary to neurogenic mechanism and mostly due to dilatation of vessels because of vasoactive substances. It is either physiological or pathological. The physiological causes for the hyperemia is lactating mammary gland because of hormones, blood is there, stomach and intestine after meal, and in striatal muscles during the exercise. The pathological causes of hyperemia is inflammation and fever. Now the appearance of the tissue in hyperemia, it is divided into morphological finding is gross and microscopic, and gross is the macroscopic appearance. Here the arteries are dilated and affected tissue or organ are increased in size. There is warm and they are bright red in color. And microscopically what you see is the dilatation of the arteries, and they are filled with the blood. Now what is the importance of hyperemia? Hyperemia is very much helpful in inflammation because it increases the amount of oxygen, nutrients, it causes the dilatation of the vessels. So there is diapedesis of leukocytes, there is increased antibodies to the organism. Along with that, it dilutes the irritant because there is increased fluid at the site of inflammation. Along with that, it removes the waste products and it disappears as soon as the cause is removed. So this way, hyperemia helps in the inflammation. Now, what is venous congestion? There is increased amount of blood in venous side. It may be acute or chronic, or it can be local or generalized. Congestion is also known as CVC for short form. Acute general passive congestion is usually secondary to cardiac causes, mainly necrosis, degeneration, infarction, and secondary to lung causes are pneumonia and sometimes in the hydropericardium and hydrothorax. Morphology, acute general congestion is organs are bluish red. As I told you in the previous slide, because of this blood is deoxygenated, so the tissue is not red, it is bluish red. And microscopically what you see is the venous and capillaries are distended and filled with blood. Now this was acute general congestion. Now chronic general congestion. there is increased amount of blood in the venous sides and it persists longer in the tissue. And most of the causes are valvular stenosis, heart failure, heart anomalies, constrictive lesions of the pericardium like hydropericardium or traumatic pericarditis, some lesions of the lung, and the commonest lesion of the lung are pneumonia, emphysema and pneumoconiosis. Now, what is the pathogenesis or what are the changes are produced in the tissue because of this chronic passive venous congestion? It is first of all because the tissue suffers from the hypoxia. So, because of hypoxia, there is necrosis of the tissue, generalized degenerative necrosis of the parenchyma, and that leads to either atrophy or fibrosis. Because of hypoxia and there is decreased circulation, there is damage to the vessels and fluid leaks into the surrounding tissue and that produces edema. So the total consequences secondary to CVC is edema, necrosis, atrophy and fibrosis. These type of change are mainly seen in the major organ like liver, spleen, lung. So one by one we will see the different changes in different organs. First of all, we'll see in the changes in the lung. First of all, lung etiology. What are the commonest causes of CVC lung? It occurs in left-sided heart failure. Most of the CVC lung are secondary to rheumatic mitral stenosis and that produces pulmonary increased venous pressure. So, in lung, the small number of RBC escape from the distended capillaries into alveoli and these RBC are phagocytized by the macrophages because it is a foreign body for them, and after phagocytosis there is hemosiderin pigment production and these hemosiderin laden macrophages are also known as heart failure cells. Secondary to leakage, there is changes in the alveolar septal wall. In response to this fluid, there is fibrosis of that and the whole condition, lung is increased in size and because of hemosiderin pigmentation, they become brown in color. So that condition on gross examination is known as brown induration of the lung. So grossly, lung is increased in the size, they are heavy and firm and on cut section, you can see the brown induration and microscopically thickened alveoli spaces are filled with the fluid and there is hemosiderin pigmentation in the alveolar spaces. So this is how it looks. You can see there is thickened alveolar wall. This is a high power view and you can see the hemosiderin laden macrophages. They are brownish in color. Sorry, this is low power and this is high power. See, this is the hemosiderin pigmentation and this is the alveolar. Again, this is a closer high power view which shows there is hemosiderin laden macrophages. You can see the transudate in the alveolar wall, dilated capillaries, RBC and microhemorrhages inside the alveoli and you can see the thickened fibrous wall of the alveoli. Again, still higher view, what you see is you can see the brown pigmentation of the macrophages, RBC inside the alveolar wall, hemosiderin and this is the transudate and dilated capillary. Organ which is affected by the CVC or you can see properly is the liver. It is usually caused by the right-sided heart failure or sometimes due to occlusion of the inferior vena cava or hepatic vein. The most common changes are due to congestion of the central area and surrounding hypoxic area. And so this condition is also known as nutmeg appearance of the liver. Now what is the pathogenesis? There is congestion and this congestion is marked by in the centrilobular area and central veins surrounding the sinusoids are distended with the blood. And centrilobular hepatocyte suffers from the hypoxia and they undergo necrosis and atrophy. Surrounding tissues doesn't go for much hypoxia but there is chronic hypoxic condition and that leads to degenerative changes and you can see the most common degenerative changes in the liver is fatty change. So, center part there is congestion and it is red and peripheral part there is fat deposition. So, there is alternate red and pale area and that reflects on the cut section is the nutmeg appearance. And if the person survives for the longer time, then this condition is converted to cardiac cirrhosis. The area which suffers from the hypoxia is converted to fibrosis. Now, morphologically, as I told you in the previous slide, liver is enlarged, tender and tense, and on cut section there is nutmeg appearance because of red and yellow area, and microscopically you can see the congestion in the sinusoidal area, and surrounding there is along with necrosis, and surrounding there is hypoxia and fatty changes. See, this is the cut section of the liver. You can see the congestion and mottling of the liver. Here again, this is a 10x view. You can see the congestion of the liver, and there is again hemosiderin pigmentation, and there is periphery fatty change. Again, high power view of cut section of the liver. Then third organ which is affected by this CVC is the spleen. It occurs usually in the right-sided heart failure, portal hypertension and cirrhosis of the liver. On gross examination, spleen is increased in size, and in long-standing cases, it increases up to 500 to 1000 milligram. What is the normal weight of the spleen? It is 80 to 50 to 80 grams, sometimes up to 100 grams. So splenomegaly is divided into mild, moderate and severe degree. Here the spleen is moderately enlarged. The spleen is deeply congested and cyanotic, and on cut section it appears grey tan in color. Microscopically, as shown in the previous tissues, there is congestion in the red pulp area that suffers from the hypoxia. So there is degeneration and necrosis, and there is calcium deposition along with the hemosiderin deposition, and that condition along with the fibrosis with calcium deposition and hemosiderin nodules, there is formation of the specific bodies, and that specific body is given the name gamma-Gandy bodies. So this is the 10x view of the spleen showing this gamma-Gandy bodies. There is fibrosis, necrosis, and there is deposition of the calcium salt, and this is high power view showing the calcium deposition. Now I will talk little about the hemorrhage. What is hemorrhage? There is extravasation of the blood inside the tissue or organ, that is hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is divided into two types: hemorrhage by rhexis, where there is damage to the capillaries, and hemorrhage by diapedesis. There is no damage to the capillaries, but blood moves out from the capillaries in the tissues. So there are two types of hemorrhages. Hemorrhage is classified according to the location. Source for the hemorrhage can be cardiac, arterial, venous or capillary, and according to location, if it is a subcutaneous hemorrhage, then it is divided into, or for clinical purposes, they are divided according to their size. If it is 1 to 2 millimeter in diameter, it is known as Patachi, and it is usually secondary to platelet deficiency. If it is 1 to 2 centimeter in diameter, subcutaneous hemorrhage, then it is known as ecchymosis, and it is usually secondary to trauma to the tissue. It is also known as bruises clinically. If it is due to more than 1 centimeter, then it is known as purpura, and it is usually secondary to platelet damage. Dissection hemorrhage usually in the vessels when there is damage to the vascular wall. Hematoma or hemocyst is accumulation of blood inside a cavity or cyst. Suffusion means large amount of hemorrhage in body, and linear hemorrhage are usually seen in the intestine. So according to the site, type and etiology, they are divided into different types. If the hemorrhage is inside a specific cavity, then they are given special names. As for example, if it is in the thorax, then it is hemothorax. If it is inside the pericardium, it is known as hemopericardium. If it is inside the peritoneum, it is hemoperitoneum. And if inside the joint, then it is known as hemoarthrosis. Prefix hemo indicates hemorrhage. So it may be perirenal, subcapsular, subcutaneous, bleeding from the known and clinically known as epistaxis. From mouth, it is known as hematemesis. If it is in the sputum, it is hemoptysis. If it is inside tunica vaginalis, it is hematocele. If blood passes in the stool, then it is melena. And if the hemorrhage inside the brain, it is apoplexy. So these are the different terminology used by clinical people to see where the hemorrhage is located, what is the type of the hemorrhage, and what is the etiology of the hemorrhage. So there are various causes for the hemorrhage. Commonest cause is the trauma. When there is any sort of external trauma, there is damage or cut in the capillaries, then like incision, laceration, contusions, that produces hemorrhages. Certain bacterial and viral infections like in gram-negative septicemia, there is leakage of the vascular wall because of chemical, there is damage to the vascular wall. Some toxic chemical agent like arsenic, it directly damages the capillary wall. Hemorrhagic diathesis like coagulation disorder, platelet disorder, defective platelet function, defective vitamin C deficiency, all this produces hemorrhagic diathesis. When there is some damage to the vascular wall like atherosclerosis and aneurysm, that also leads to the hemorrhage. And certain neoplasm, because of their toxic substances, damages the vascular wall and produces hemorrhages. So these are the various causes for the production of the hemorrhage. So for your demonstration, this is petechial hemorrhage and this is purpura. This is more than 1 centimeter. This is subcutaneous hemorrhage. This is in the millimeters. Again, this is intestinal hemorrhage. You can see the linear hemorrhage and pinpoint hemorrhages. This is again purpura. You can see there is subcutaneous hemorrhagic spots. This is ecchymosis. You can see the hemorrhage more than 1 centimeter in size, and it is also a subcutaneous hemorrhage. Submucosal hemorrhage are also known as ecchymosis. So, thank you. The references from where I have taken my